Hello, welcome Simon's Trading Channel. Happy Sunday to you. Yes, it's the end of another week. Another week older. Another week bolder. Don't know. Anyway, yes, I hope you've had a cracking weekend. And thank you for joining me for another one of my videos. This is the weekly time frame as promised yesterday. And with only 5 hours left to go before Bybit closes out its weekly candle, yeah, it looks kind of similar to CME. CME actually closed a bit higher than where Bybit is at the moment, about $500 premium over Bybit at the moment. But Bybit still has 5 hours to go. So who knows? But both look like they've closed above the midpoint on the Bollinger Band, which is the 20 SMA. And generally, that means if it persists in that manner, above the 20 SMA with volatility expansion, you can see that would be a price move to the upside. The counter is also true. The last time there was a daily decent expansion of volatility to the downside was probably just eyeballing the chart from here. So you could see the Bollinger Band had narrowed. While the narrowing was going on, the 20 SMA was positioned to the downside and the price was below it. And then when volatility did expand, the move was to the downside. And that was probably the last significant move of the 2022 bear market. And then since then, the big daily moves of increased volatility have been to the upside. So, that pivot point for weekly closures on Bybit here is pretty much 63,000, and on CME it's pretty much 63,000. So I would suggest that both of them have to close this week above 63,000. That's right. Continue with a more probabilistic upside move come volatility expansion on the weekly. That seemed like a bit of a mouthful. I hope you understood it. I think I kind of did. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not really going to check out momentum because that's nothing's changed there. I'm going to now jump down quite a few time frames to the 4 hour because this is where something interesting is occurring. Now you can see how narrow the Bollinger Bands are, so how much volatility has cooled off since basically, well, it started really cooling off here, but you can see the move was over Friday, so just before the weekend. And then since then, right through the weekend, there's been hardly any price movement. There's been no volatility. And that's now reflected in these narrow Bollinger Bands. Now, the price is still above the midpoint, and the midpoint is coming in at 65.5, give or take. The bottom is at 65, and the top is at 66, call it. So anywhere within there is fine for continued consolidation on the low time frames is 4 hour. If I reference this last move, which was born out of the 4 hour volatility expansion, you can see a similar thing happened after a move up. It was then a weekend where things cooled off and the Bollinger Bands contracted. Then the next week, not a great deal happened. It was just a range play until basically the end of the week, and then Thursday and Friday was an expansion of volatility to the upside. And you can see that was borne by price being above the midpoint of the Bollinger Band. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen again, but it's shaping up to be something similar at the moment. And so you've got narrowing of Bollinger Bands, and we'll see what happens with price. Clearly, momentum is to the upside. The momentum I define as a MACD above the zero line. And it's too far away from the zero line for this to make any sense. But for it to turn green again, it needs to close above 66,000 on a 4 hour time frame. The next one's closing in an hour, and it's at 65.8 at the moment. So it's got a chance to turn that back up. Whether or not it does, only time will tell. So, so I would suggest that for hardly any pullback to occur, and there hasn't been much of a pullback since this move started back down here at 53. There's been one pullback here, and then it's just been grinding its way up essentially. But for a pullback to occur from this point, I think initially you need to see 4-hour closures back below 65. And then I reckon Bitcoin will get some support around 62. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Quickly checking in on the daily. Funnily enough, the midpoint on the Bollinger Band is coming in around 62. So if the 4-hour does get some volatility expansion to the downside, and I think that'll happen if 4-hour closures below 65 start to occur, then I think a move down to 62,000 is fair game. And that would probably only be a 382 retracement on this last move up on the Fibonacci. And it would be somewhere between a 0.5 and 382 retracement on the last move on the Fibonacci retracement. So I think that's all fair game, and it wouldn't really change too much for continuation to the upside in good time. So there you are. That's my video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, and indeed share it with your friends. And you can catch up with me on Twitter at Simon F. Martin. Take care. See you tomorrow for Monday. Hopefully a week of opportunities. Goodbye.